name is Jason. I am going to be your host this evening, and I'll be moderating for the Q&A here in a little bit. Are you guys as excited as I am? Yeah! All right, yeah. I am super excited for this. I don't know that I've ever been more excited for an event that I've hosted here at Alamo, and I've been doing this for 5 years because trauma is my thing. I grew up on trauma. I started watching trauma when I was way too young to be watching trauma. I had a mom with 3 kids and 3 jobs, so sometimes neglect is a good thing. So I got to watch whatever I wanted, and there was no one really telling me not to. And you know, the first one I watched, I thought maybe I shouldn't be watching this, but as soon as I started, I thought I should be watching this. I absolutely should be watching this, and I haven't stopped since. In fact, I just watched my personal favorite trauma movie for about the 100th time yesterday, Terror Firmer.
Woo!
Right? Yeah. I love it. In fact, it's one of those movies that anytime you see someone on the internet saying, what is that movie with the scene where something, 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 it's always Terror Firmer I've seen. So that's kind of how much of a zeitgeist that trauma, I think, has had over the movie community. So we're here to celebrate that tonight. Is anyone here watching a trauma movie at all for the first time ever? Okay, I will be dishing out free hugs after the movie, free therapy. No, you guys are in for a treat. This is going to be an absolute blast. Is there anyone that's seen either of the 2 movies yet that we're watching tonight? Awesome. Lloyd was in town a few years back at Vintage Park and showed the first one they're watching tonight, so many of you guys may have been there. It is an absolute blast. I would say return to form for trauma, but I don't think they ever left form. I don't think the quality has dipped in any of their movies that they make. You know, we won't necessarily discuss every movie they've distributed, but every movie they've made, I think, has been top form. And the 2 you're going to watch tonight, I think, are absolutely belong in that canon. So I really, really, really think you guys are going to have fun. They haven't slowed down. They haven't sold out, if you will. They haven't, dumbed it down at all. Yeah, you guys are with me on that one. They haven't changed their ways. It's just exactly what you want out of a trauma movie. So we're going to have a lot of fun tonight. Whenever I personally watch a trauma movie, I don't know if anyone's like me, but that logo alone just brings up such feelings within me, you know, memories and nostalgia. And I sometimes rewind the logo at the beginning just because I got to hear it again. In fact, it's the ringtone on my phone. So speaking of which, no phones. We'll get to that in a little bit. So, but obviously you guys are not here to hear me talk, I don't think. Maybe some of you are, weirdos. But we are here to watch these movies, and we're here, of course, to experience the man himself, Lloyd Kaufman. He is going to be here, and he is going to be doing a Q&A a little bit later. He'll be outside selling merch and signing stuff if he brought it. So I'm sure he'll take pictures with you. If he doesn't, I don't know, but I'm pretty sure he will be, so no problems there. So he is an absolute riot. He's a hoot. He is always on. He's hilarious. You guys are going to love the Q&A. I highly, highly, highly recommend you do not leave until after the Q&A. In fact, start thinking of your Q's now, because I'm going to come out there and try to get as many of you guys as we can. So, you know, if you have a good question, write it down. You'll get to ask it, but write it down so you don't forget it. Start thinking of it now. As you watch the movie, many, many, many questions will arise. So feel free to ask him. You guys are going to have an absolute blast with him, like I said. So a couple of housekeeping things before we get started on the event tonight. Obviously, no talking. Movies like this lend themselves to people thinking that they are contributing by tossing out comments, but obviously this is Alamo, so please none of that. Turn off your cell phones, even if you do have a trauma ringtone like me. Turn it off anyway. Vibrate, whatever. Please take care of your server throughout the night. They're going to take good care of you guys. If you need anything at all, put up a flag. They'll come take care of you at the end of the night. Make sure you let them know you appreciate it. You can take care of your host at the end of the evening as well, not through money, but by letting you know what you thought of the event, anything we might be able to do differently next time we have a similar event, or maybe something else you think might be a good pairing with something like this. Also, anything that you want to see on the big screen, let me know what you think. I'll go to bat for you. Anything you pitch to me, we may or may not be able to show it, but I'll certainly put in for it and fight for it. So I'm just super excited. I know you guys don't want to hear much more of me talking, so we're going to go ahead and get started with the first movie, and then after that, you guys will hear from Lloyd himself. And again, make sure if you brought merch, things like that, things that you want signed, he will sign it for you out front. But otherwise, guys, enjoy. Start thinking of your questions. Thank you. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, President of Troma, Mr. Lloyd Kaufman, and his wife, Pat Kaufman, who is also co-founder of Troma and 20-year New York Film Commissioner, guys. So thank you, guys. Bring them on up.
Toxic Avenger, ladies. Thank you so much. And thank you, Jason. And thank you, Mike. Mike from Alamo Drafthouse. Thank you so much. And New York State Film Commissioner, Toxic Avenger. And thank you so much for coming to see Return to Nukem High, a.k.a. Volume 2, which was suggested to me. The more ambitious film was actually suggested to me by Quentin Tarantino, who later went and did Volume 1 and 2 of Kill Bill. And when I saw that, I figured I'll do the same thing, except do it for a small budget. Anyway, Jason, how would you like to run the thing?
Well, is there anyone who's already ready with a question?
Commissioner, come near me.
If so, come on up and meet me over here, why don't you, so you can ask a question into the microphone.
The commish and I have been together for 44 years, which is exactly the history of film entertainment, Michael is. I'm a wife of two people, the wife of the commissioner here and Michael Hers. Very modern.
And boy, let me tell you how devoted Lloyd is, because to get here today was not easy.
Yes, we were diverted to Columbus, Ohio, and it's very important to visit Columbus, Ohio before you come to Houston, especially if you live in New York. I have no idea why they did that, but meanwhile, I apologize for being so late.
Yeah, we'd hoped to be here before, middle, and after, spend more time with you guys, but...
Well, Mike and Justin, again, thank you so much for doing this for us, and we really appreciate it. Thank you, Alamo. Troma's the oldest independent movie studio probably in history, longest running. And how nice at Alamo, I mean, it's gotta be Tim League, and we go way back, and Alamo's been there for us for a long time. And here we are on this, Tuesday evening is the most important evening of all. The most people come to Tuesday evenings would make the big bucks, so thank you, everybody.
Excellence
Anyone,
in
what?
celluloid.
What?
Excellence in celluloid.
Sounds good, but put that in question for me.
I was saying Latin for trauma is excellent in celluloid.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much. That's what it means in the ancient Latin. You studied Latin, obviously. Virgil, do you need?
Yes. Let's see. I was gonna go ahead first frame the question. If you recall a show from back in the day, Beat the Geeks. If you beat the movie geek, you got to dine in a trauma movie. And now I mentally kind of traced it down, and I believe it was Allie in Terra Firma, but she did not dine in a Terra Firma movie. Am I?
Well, the good news is my career is pretty dead, so I think I've been through with the promise, so don't worry. And soon I'll be dead. I'm 73.
No, but I'm just
Dead.
But
My wife didn't think that was too funny.
it's funny that you can place, I was trying to place the Beat the Geeks winner because, I trained for many years upon years to beat the movie geek, so I could win a role in a trauma movie, but...
Well, we just shot, by the way, for those of you who were interested, we just finished, and the commissioner here produced it, Shakespeare's Shitstorm. If you go to my Instagram, Lloyd Kaufman, you can see some stills and videos from Shakespeare's Shitstorm. We're editing it now. But you should have, whoever it is, should have followed Trauma on Twitter or Instagram, or follow me on Twitter, and you would know. We got people from all over the world who came to act and play as cameos in Shakespeare's
A
Shitstorm.
huge percentage of the crew were Trauma fans.
Yeah, in
They
fact,
came from everywhere.
A guy named Ken Sylvester. Ken Sylvester. Anybody here see Poultry Guys Night of the Chicken Den? Ken Sylvester is from Texas, from Dallas. We had a few people. Toxie's here, of course. He's Troma's signature icon, and he's our Mickey Mouse. And thank you, Toxie, for coming here. And if you see Ken Sylvester, please thank him. All right, well, thank you, ma'am. That was a very interesting question.
Sorry, just kind of rambling.
No, it was a good question. It was very, very trauma. Very trauma.
Thank you for being here, Mr. Kaufman, and Mrs. Kaufman. As a
Commissioner, she's the commission.
Ms. Commish.
20 years
My
as
apologies.
20 years as New York State Film Commissioner. Seriously, she was appointed by both Republican and Democratic governors because she created the incentive. If you make a movie in New York State, you get a third of your budget back below the line in cash. Now, Troma didn't do that because it would have been a conflict of interest, and but the New York State has gotten billions and billions of dollars in jobs because of the incentive that Pat put through to the legislature in New York. That'll be the one serious statement that I make during the entire evening.
But I think he has a question.
Yes, please.
Well, we appreciate you for being here.
Thank you.
I grew up in the 80s as a child. I grew up on trauma movies, and I was always curious what the process was for pitching the Toxic Avenger as the Toxic Crusaders cartoon, because that seems just like a crazy.
Well, Troma's a historic, we're the longest running independent movie studio in history, I think, which is pretty amazing considering, thank you. Considering we made movies like Terror Firmer, I still can't believe we made that film.
It's a great film.
It is, I agree, it's my most personal film, it's a wonderful film, and we managed to torture our youngest child who plays
The mute daughter.
Audrey, in Terra Firma. Toxic Avenger, what can I say, you know, it was...
They came to you.
Yeah, they did.
You
they
didn't
did.
pitch to them.
No, the cartoons...
They came to Lloyd.
Here's the thing, the people who were doing Playmates, a Playmates toy company, had made toys, the action figures for the Teenage Mutant Turtles, and the Teenage Mutant, whatever it is, Ninja Turtles. And Kevin Eastman is a big Troma fan, so he suggested to them that they ought to think about Toxic Avenger because he was a big Troma fan as a kid, and he created the Mutant Turtles. And they made Toxic Crusaders, a cartoon show which aimed at 5-year-olds. It's the only movie, the Toxic Avenger is the only movie in film history where a young boy's head is crushed by the wheel of an automobile that was made into a politically correct environmental children's cartoon show. Chuck Lorre, yeah, Chuck Lorre. Chuck Lorre, young, what's his name? What's it,
Chuck Lloyd, who makes just about all of the great TV comedic serials right now.
yeah, that's
Young
that one
Sheldon.
with the kid in it, the
Young
little boy.
Sheldon, but
Young
that's
Sheldon, I love
Two and
that
a Half
film.
Men.
It's
He
the
makes
stupidest
just
thing.
everything. He
Yeah,
makes everything.
major player. Chuck Lorre wrote the theme song, Toxic Crusaders, Toxic. He wrote that, and he also wrote the pilot for Toxic Crusaders cartoons. And a lot of the writers on Toxic Crusaders cartoons were really good. They wrote for Laugh-In, and the Toxic Crusader cartoons are free on the Troma channel on YouTube, where you can see hundreds of free movies. And they're good. The 5-year-olds like them, and the 50-year-olds like them, right, Pat?
Oh, yeah, you walked
Toxic,
to
you
that
like it.
idea before most people. That
Yeah,
cartoons had to be funny to the adults as well as
Oh,
to
well,
the
we
kids.
grew up on Mad Magazine. Mad Magazine's a big deal in my brain,
Thank you.
especially Don Martin.
Got some more questions here, but I want to interject since we're on Toxie. We can't ignore the fact that it was also a musical.
Yes,
Yes.
it still is a musical.
Yes.
It's coming to Broadway, but it played Broadway for a year in New York. It went to the London West End. Can you imagine a movie where the kid's head gets squashed by the... No theater would play The Toxic Avenger when we made it. We couldn't do anything with it, and then suddenly it caught pollution fire.
And I think we did a major opening here in Houston.
You did? I was there?
Yeah, it was fabulous.
What's the name of the theater?
The Alley Theater.
The
is where it
Alley,
played.
yes, the Alley.
Constantine from American Idol, or I think it was
That's
American
right.
Idol.
Yeah.
He was in it, yeah.
And I was going to ask real quick too.
Who wrote the music?
That's the question I was going to ask. David Bryan, I know, wrote it.
And who's he?
Bon Jovi.
Woo!
But I was going to ask something I've already heard because I read it in the program, but I just thought maybe you'd share it. It's kind of a funny story about that. Is he predicted that he was going to write that as a musical, didn't he?
As a child, yes.
Yes, he saw The Toxic Avenger. David Bryan is from New Jersey, and he saw The Toxic Avenger when he was 12 years old, and he said, I'm going to write a musical about that movie. And he did.
Seriously. I mean,
He
he
did.
really did. And
He
he
did.
did it.
Yes, he did.
And it went on when it was on Off-Broadway. It won every possible award in Off-Broadway.
Yes.
In New York. And then it went on to the West End.
It
in
mopped up.
London, and did really, it mopped up everything. And it went on to the West End
It
in
did
London,
indeed,
and
yeah.
again was winning awards.
And it's
Great.
the nice thing about the musical is that it's not disgusting the way I like to make movies. And as a result, the little old ladies with the matinee, theater matinee and the blue hair, they like it just as much as the people, as Justin, with people with pierced penises and tattoos. So how cool is that, right? Thank you, David Bryan, Joe DiPietro. And, it's coming to Broadway. I don't know. Someday Uncle Lloyd can stop washing car windows and relax.
But it plays all over the world.
Yes, it's been all over the world. Someday we might get a few pennies.
So I have a kind of spicy question, but with your spicy film
Yes,
history,
3.5 inches, totally erect.
it's a little bit further than that. There's a YouTube conspiracy theory that's floating around, and you have to understand that my heroes, yourself and James Gunn, have been accused of being part of this YouTube conspiracy. And so I'm curious what your spicy reaction is to the Pizzagate conspiracy against YouTube.
It's
You guys are wholesome gentlemen.
the problem is I went to a festival a while back in Brussels, and I brought them a slice of pizza from New York, and I held it up and people took pictures. I said, I want to give you something from New York to bring to Belgium, the culture of New York. And the Pizzagate guy, that Ryan, is that his name, Ryan something? Whatever it is, there was some kind of
I don't know what his
bullshit.
name is, I just heard it.
Whatever it is, it's hard for me to get fired. The only thing only Pat can fire me. But unfortunately, James Gunn and I had some banter on Twitter 10 years ago. 10 years ago.
More than 10 years.
More than 10 years ago. James Gunn, for those of you who don't know him, he wrote Romeo and Juliet. I don't know what happened to him after that, but I'm not sure where his career arc went after, but he's very talented and a great guy. And boy, did Disney fuck up. Oh my God. How stupid were they? What a bunch of total jerks.
So that when you were bantering and
It was banter, it's comedy, it's ridiculous. We were joking 10 years ago and somehow, 20 years ago, says my wife. And,
All I can say about that is never apologize for that. Don't
I'm not
change the
apologizing.
culture. The culture in America is beautiful as it is. Don't manipulate it, destroy it. You guys are continuing on, and I thank you for that.
Well, we are living in an age of freedom of speech as long as you don't say anything. So fuck that. Fuck that. And the fact that you're here on a Tuesday night, how cool is that? And thank you for whatever it is you said. I'm not sure what you did say. Yeah, good. The point is we should be able to have some fun, right? And trauma movies, we've been doing this I've been making movies for 50 years, And Troma's 45 years old, and it's only because of our fans that we're still around. I mean, it's real. We're totally economically blacklisted, except for Alamo and a few theaters, and it's really because of our fans that we're here. And, of course, the New York State Film Commission.
So I'm curious, the car scene that you said you spent a ton of money on in Romeo and Juliet?
We
how
have
many-
never spent a ton of money.
I guess for your budget. I just saw it again, so I was wondering, how many times is this now that you've used the scene?
Never counted, but what's the
That's a
reason?
really good question.
Many other independent filmmakers have asked us to use that piece, and we have granted them the right for free. So I think it's probably in 152,000 low-budget movies. In fact, I think people have been imitating. People are going on to I-95 and trying to imitate that car crash. It's amazing. It's
But
delightful.
keep an eye out for Shakespeare shitstorm. It might show up.
Yes.
That could be a Jeopardy question of how many times you guys use that scene.
Right.
We really don't know because so many other people have been using it too.
But we should actually sit down one day and just count how many times have your film used
Yes,
it.
yes, you're right.
It's a good question.
Thank you.
Okay, back again.
And for those of you who don't know, sorry to interrupt, but for those of you who do not know, Sergeant Kabuki Man, NYPD, back in 1989, we accidentally did a wonderful car stunt where a car goes up in the air, turns around, crashes, and then blows up. And it really was good. It's beautiful, and it was so good that when James Gunn and I were creating Romeo and Juliet, we decided to reuse it. And then the fans loved that, and now we keep reusing it, and the fans expect to see it. And where will it show up?
But it gets the best reaction.
Yeah, it's a great. A lot of people who discover Troma for the first time in Return to Nukem and Return to Nukem High, they ask in the Q&A, how did you do that car flip? It's so original and so great. Well, back in 1989, we had an old car.
I can tell you that during the movie tonight, it did get a definite response from the audience, from those that are familiar.
That's
So,
great.
yeah.
Thank you.
I think one of the toughest things about reusing it is trying to find a car that kind of, sort of resembles
Yeah, when we,
the
that's
original
good.
car.
You're right. When we did the scene originally, 1970 vehicles were trash. Now, if you know, a Dodge from 1970, whatever it is a collector's item. So nobody wants to let us use their car for the setup of the stunt. So it's getting more and more difficult to find a matching car. But we've been using different cars that don't even look like that Dodge from the 70s. And eventually we're probably going to use a bicycle and see if anyone notices.
Hey, just to comment on that thing that you were saying right quick, it's kind of like Terra Firma when he was talking about like, oh, none of these shots will match. Benjamin's not want to use the C word. What? Cunt. No continuity. What you talking about? None of these shots will match. I forgot the next line, but then it's like, and that's why you work here. You.
Very good, very good. That's a quote from Terra Firma, my most personal movie. And we did have a little section about continuity. Troma's not famous for caring too much about continuity. Actually, we don't really care about focus either.
Although actually on this last film,
We don't even care about sound. We don't care about
this
anything.
last film which I produced, I cared deeply.
Yes,
about
you were
continuity.
very-
I was
very-
into all those little pesky details.
Yes, you were very
Like continuity and all of that.
right.
Let's see, if you recall from Topsy's movie, you got a lot of hate mail about the shot of the dog being shot with a shotgun. But it wasn't a real dog. It was kind of weird that you got the hate mail about it. And I see that you just went full on with the duck. Like, once again, it obviously wasn't a real duck, but are you afraid of PETA or anything like that?
Well, first of all, let me tell you, Troma's been around, as I mentioned, for 44, 45 years. We get very little hate mail. The only real nasty letter we ever got was about shooting the dog in Toxic Avenger, you're right. And,
wasn't a real dog.
if you see the film, it looks like a bathroom rug that got hit. It's ridiculous. It's absurd. Anybody believes it. But it's a very, very good point. And I have worked for PETA. I'm vegetarian. And I made if you're interested, Troma made at its own expense a very good PSA to support PETA. We put humans in, we did an factory farming. We did an anti-factory farming public service announcement for PETA. And you can see it online. It's on Troma's movie channel, on Troma Movies on YouTube, and it's also on the PETA website.
And if you were doing a Venn diagram, it overlaps with the film they're about to see, because you actually recreate those cages and some of the people in those cages in part two.
That's right, good point. The kidnapped students are actually shots from the PETA PSA that we did, where we put humans, we had humans go through what the animals go through in the factory farming. Except we did eat the humans. Thank you, thanks a lot, ma'am, thank you.
Yeah.
And thanks for quoting from Terra Firma, because I still can't believe we made that movie. It's amazing. Try to check out Terra Firma. And there's a documentary. We make documentaries about the making. Huh?
Farts of Darkness was the Terra Firma.
Parts of Darkness.
Yes, Farts of Darkness. That's the documentary about the making of Terra Firma. And we've got, that's worth a year of film school, in my opinion. It's really interesting.
Hey, hello.
Oh,
Whoops.
thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to say real quick first, thanks for being here. Thank both of you for everything you've done for cinema, especially indie cinema. And I'm Mel, by the way, and this is my associate Kuma. We represent the Houston freaky, crazy indie cinema filmmakers, parts of them.
Good for you.
And in the spirit of indie cinema, of course, we'd like to ask you a question.
Well, thank you for coming.
Can we use that car seat?
Of course.
Thank you.
But email me, lloydk@troma.com, and so I can give you a written
Oh,
email.
absolutely. We're going to use it over and over.
And you have to
and
put a credit in the end of the movie saying thank you Troma Entertainment and Uncle Lloyd for the very violent car explosion.
How awesome is that?
Thank you. I'm honored. That's an honor, right? That's great. I don't see people calling up to put Roma in their movies. Anybody see that movie? Was anyone able to sit through it? And it's in black and white, holy shit. Oh my God, I tried. But you liked it, right?
Yeah, I like movies like that.
But you like Roma?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Hey guys, good evening. Mr. Kaufman, Kamish, Toxie. Just on behalf of everybody, I just want to say thank you for being here. You know,
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you to the commissioner. I thank the commissioner.
We thank Houston for welcoming us.
Yes, thank you, Alamo, and thank you, Houston, so much.
oh yeah. I don't have a question, but I just want to say I like those Instagram videos of the Kamish cooking, and you're like trophy wife.
Blue Apron trophy wife.
I love
Yes, it's a lot of fun. Blue Apron is a great date thing. You cook. It's a subscription service for food, and it's about $9 each, and you make a gourmet meal together. And we do 15-second Instagram stories with the Blue Apron trophy wife. Usually we had a couple.
Well, thank you for doing that. I
Thank you.
appreciate
Well,
it.
thank you. On my Instagram, Lloyd Kaufman.
Thank you. But we really have fun doing them. And then we get to eat the great meal.
Yeah, it's very good. The Blue Apron's pretty good. It's very good.
Come to our house and we'll make you Blue Apron.
Indeed.
I'll close it out, put the pressure on myself to ask the final question. One thing I've always been curious about with Trauma, with all the special features on the DVD, the feature-length documentaries, like we said, Farts of Darkness, Apocalypse Soon. It seems as if Trauma gives their audience an unprecedented...
May I interrupt just one second?
Absolutely.
Because I know I'm going to forget. Volume 2, Return to Nukamai, aka Volume 2 and Volume 1. There is a documentary, two girls, one duck. And it's really good. So the Blu-ray is imminent. The Blu-ray is
Yeah, it
coming.
hasn't been released yet.
No, it's coming. It's coming. Pardon the expression.
That's
Back
perfect.
to the question.
And it's got very good word of beak.
I don't know if I want to follow that, but it seems with all of that, and again, the special features and the Trauma tours that you can take of the studio, it seems as if Trauma gives their fans almost an unprecedented look behind the scenes, for better or for worse. Is that something that was always the intention, or did that come about at a certain time that you decided that it was time to give people a peek behind the curtain?
That's a good question. That's a really good question. It works on so many levels. I was a big fan of Bertolt Brecht, and Brecht was famous for breaking the fourth wall, breaking the fourth wall, for the turning to the camera, talk to the camera, and integrate with the audience. And Warhol, I hung out with Warhol a bit when I was in college. I didn't really know him, but I hung out with the factory there. And I used some of his people in early films. And he was the best at it. I mean, he was, if you see the Warhol movies, the actors will be in the middle of something, and they turn to the camera and say, Andy, I want lunch. I'm hungry now. And then he leaves it in the movie. And I really liked that stuff. And I was vilified for it. But now it's very popular, right? The guys who did what's the...
Deadpool.
Deadpool, yeah, Deadpool, big Trauma fans. And now talking to the camera, breaking the fourth wall is a big deal. But we've always been interactive with our fans since Squeeze Play, which was 1976. We would bring our stars to the theaters and meet the fans. And, we were underground, basically, low-budget filmmakers, but we'd bring the actors to places like Norfolk, Virginia, and people who were really appreciated, people who were most appreciative. And it's really our fans. There's no question, without our fans or without net neutrality on the internet, without a free, open, and diverse internet, there would be no Trauma. So thank you to our fans, and we have to fight to preserve net neutrality because FCC has already said they want to get rid of it, and we need to push Congress and judicial to try to preserve it because it's going away, I'm afraid.
I hope I'm not revealing too much, but is it true that Shakespeare Shitstorm was going to touch on net neutrality a bit? I thought I might have heard that. I could be wrong.
No, but I've just put up a delightful 10-minute video if you want to see some ugly news about Amazon and YouTube, owned by Google, and how they're snuffing out independent art and commerce and free speech by a double standard where they are demonetizing independent movies for so-called moral reasons. But the movies distributed by Fox Searchlight and other vassals of the devil-worshipping international media conglomerates that have the same so-called moral stuff don't get demonetized or censored. Amazon wants to censor. So we're taking everything off YouTube and putting it on Trauma Now because it's awful. Anyway, go to my fan site, Lloyd Kaufman at Trauma.com. No, LloydKaufman.com. And there's a video we just put up called Independent Artists versus Media Conglomerates that lays out, you'll see examples of independent, not Trauma movies, independent movies that get kicked out or asked to change their titles or censor them, but yet the movies that have an equal amount of stuff that's supposedly too graphic, too gory, or too sexy, if they're distributed by Independent Film Channel or Sony Classics or whatever, no problem. So we're in trouble, no question about it. And it's only thanks to you fans and net neutrality. So let your representatives, your elected representatives, maybe check out my video. It's easy to find, Lloyd Kaufman, And I think it's on a fair number of websites.
That's great. Thank you so much, guys. How about a big hand?
Thank you, Alamo Draft House and the commissioners. Well, actually, we can be out there during the film. If anybody needs something, any merchandise, we'll be there. I'm a dirty Jew and we need money.
Guys.
We can't keep going without any of that stuff.
Guys, don't make them bring all that stuff home. Get rid of it for them.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Toxic Avenger.
All right, guys. So we're going to get started here with Return to Newcomb High, a.k.a. Volume 2. Enjoy.